21. All right. So mine's a little longer than that. But so listen to this. Okay, first of all, I'm laying down ground rules. Number one, the only one who gets a solo is Eddie. Okay? Sorry, Alex. I've had enough.
I agree.
Okay, so it makes room for more songs. Okay, and Mikey, I'm sorry, buddy. You could play the first few lines of Running with the Devil, soak that shit up, and then you're off to the races. So here we go.
I agree.
Okay, all right. So we start the show, lights out, nothing but a spotlight on Alex, hot for teacher. That's how we start it. We go into Romeo Delight. Or I should say Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band. Give Buddy a little plug there. And then goes into She's the Woman, Sinner Swing, Little Guitars, Me Wise Magic, Feel Your Love, Panama, Fools, Out of Love Again, Drop Dead Legs, and The Cradle Will Rock. So This Is Love, Jamie's Crying, Top Jimmy, As Is, which then gets weaved into Eddie's guitar solo. Ain't Talking About Love, DOA, Everybody Wants Some, The Full Bug, closes with Dance the Night Away. You come back on stage for an encore of Running with the Devil, Somebody Give Me a Doctor, and Unchained. Boom. What do you think?
I couldn't help but notice that neither of us picked Jump.
Oh, exactly. Of course. Oh, what are you, nuts? I'm not picking Jump. Hey, listen. I'm not giving up a tasty spot for Jump. I've heard Jump.
No, I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear
exactly. You. So, I mean, and again, in this scenario, Ryan said we are allowed to choose. So I took advantage.
Right.
I took full advantage of what he said there. Okay, great. And we are on to letter number 2 from Dave Moses, who calls himself the fourth Dave, meaning you, me, Diamond Dave, and Dave Moses. So Dave says, remember, this is half kidding and possibly dated and obscure. And he's talking about who would play Van Halen in a Van Halen biopic. He says it's all about the wigs and who will be willing to put them on and what actor can morph into them and their quirks. Here it goes. Who could play Van Halen in a movie? For David Lee Roth, his choices are, or he gives us choices, okay? Owen Wilson, Nicolas Cage, Michael Fassbender, or Jude Law. And then he says for Eddie, John Stamos, Leonardo DiCaprio, or Rick Springfield. Wow, is that all over the map? For Mike, Mikey, he is absolutely determined for one person to play Mikey, and that is Bradley Cooper. He also says for Alex, he'd like Daniel Day Kim. He says if you don't know him, he's the guy on Lost and Hawaii Five-0, or Keanu Reeves. Sam, to be played by Val Kilmer, William Katz from A Greatest American Hero,
oh my God,
or Matthew McConaughey. Wolf is to be played by Josh Hartnett, Gary by Colin Farrell, Val by Kendall Jenner, Jan Van Halen by Victor Garber, and Noel Monk, Dave Foley. He says, laugh, comment, or let me know what you think. Dave Moses. So, Dave, I'm going to say I think Nick Cage as David Lee Roth would be an absolute scream because Nick Cage is out of his mind and so is Dave. So I think that would work. My choice for Ed, I would like to move. I've always thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt would do a good Eddie Van Halen. He's got that vibe, I think, who could pull off Eddie. Mike, I'm going to go with Bradley Cooper. I think that's an interesting choice. And with Alex, I think Keanu Reeves would be great. Sammy, I'm going to say Guy Fieri. What do you say, Dave? Guy Fieri.
That is perfect. That is perfect. I can pick no one better than that.
Exactly. For Wolfie, I say Wolfie plays himself. What do you think? I think he breaks into the acting community. Gary, I think Colin Farrell is great. Noel Monk, Dave Foley, I agree with. And for Val, instead of Kendall Jenner, I'm going to go with Linda Cardellini. I like Linda Cardellini. I think she could do a great Val. What are your thoughts on this, Dave?
You know what? I don't watch nearly as much TV or movies as I used to, so okay. I really can't speak intelligently to this. I almost think they should pick a cast of unknowns.
Probably.
And just people who look reasonably like them and can act really well.
Yeah. Good point.
Because I don't want to say the baggage, but a lot of the people we just picked are associated with certain types of things.
Right. That's true.
It's tough to disassociate yourself from that.
That's true. That's what they did with the Dirt. They have all kind of unknowns in a way. So that's cool, and we are on to letter number 3, and that's from Stephen Halmerick. Okay, Stephen Halmerick. And he says, Dave and Dave, Happy New Year to you both, and let's hope that 2019 does bring indeed some Van Halen action. And he also says he's looking forward to Wolfie releasing his long-awaited album, and he wanted to follow up on his previous letter when we read out in October about how we speculated on how he got from Sydney to Chicago to see Van Halen in 2008. He said the flight details were 14 hours from Sydney to L.A., then a 2-hour layover, followed by a 4-hour flight from L.A. to Chicago. So in all total, it was a 20-hour trip, but it was totally worth it. He also said you've been talking about in your podcast about a number of bands doing big tours over 2019, and here in Australia we have a mass number of big bands either touring or coming this summer. And he says that the Bon Jovi, Toto, Slash, Roger Hodgson of Supertramp, and the Chili Peppers, and Eagles, and Kiss, and Bryan Adams, and Brian Ferry, and Eminem, and Nickelback, and Ozzy, Slayer, and Phil Collins at Air Supply are coming, but no Van Halen. But he says he lives in hope, and with kind regards, keep the podcast coming. And Steve, I'm sorry that Van Halen has been so poor and inconsistent with their travels to Australia and Europe in general. I think after 1985, the management dropped the ball and the band kind of lost momentum. However, if they do a tour, I think you guys should be on their roster, and I think that with Dave in the band, you got a better chance of that because Dave loves to travel. He loves doing the foreign shows. What do you think, Dave?
I don't know. It always seems like Dave's solo tours would be world tours.
Yeah.
And the only world part of it would be Canada. So
he always calls it a world tour.
Yeah, I don't know. They really haven't been focused outside the U.S. in recent years. Although they did go to Australia last time.
They did.
Right?
They did.
So,
that's true. So there's
right.
There's also let's be honest, Stephen. It's all about the kashish. You show
right.
Roth and Eddie a little bit of green. Those
right.
promoters.
Tell
your promoters.
And like you and I have been saying, if they're not going to do a full blown tour, and they're only doing a few stadiums, they're only doing that in the United States.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to, like, say, England, for example, and playing O2.
No, absolutely. They got to do some big stuff. So we are on to letter number 4, and that's from Heath McCoy. And he says, great episode last month. Skyscraper really was a big career misstep for Dave, which he never fully recovered from. Not a great album, but an interesting one, and he had a few great moments. Vi was the shining star of that album. Well, I don't think, Heath, that Skyscraper is a bad album at all. A few bad decisions were made. However, overall, I think the whole timing of the project was off. I think Roth should have kept going in the rock vein a little more before taking such a hard left. What do you think, Dave?
I don't think it was a misstep. I mean, the album did well.
Yeah.
I mean, the album itself is good.
Right.
So I don't think that was the misstep.
Yeah.
I think the concern, I don't know, I think things started going south for him on the next album, on A Little Ain't Enough. Yeah. And I think that was he was a victim of changing taste.
Yeah, for sure.
And almost it didn't matter what he released at that time. I don't think it would have done well.
Right, that's true. Letter number 5 from Eric Torbick. He says, the last few podcasts you guys were talking about Van Halen's legacy and a higher regard for the Roth era versus the Sammy Hagar era song. While I agree the Roth era songs are definitely classic, I think the Hagar era songs are being disrespected. Has a lot to do with the attitude of the current band. Remember, the current band, probably specifically Ed, just pretends that 1985 to 2004 do not exist. Forget reissues. They don't even promote or currently don't perform any of those songs. Hell, Ed sent Sam a cease and desist order to prevent him from playing them live. I'm sure there are quite a few program directors afraid of Ed, and this is why they don't play as much Hagar songs as they would otherwise. Just a theory. Love the cast. Love the skyscraper discussion. I was the reader you referred to about stand-up ruining Dave's solo career. Eric Torbeck. Eric, thank you so much for writing back. And, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the program directors being afraid of Ed. There's nothing that Ed can do to the program directors. If anything, he needs them. But they can play Van Hagar all they want. Let's be honest, they play what makes the money and what their listeners want. They choose old school Van Halen over the Hagar era, and I don't know what to say. I'm not against them playing Van Hagar. I think they should play more of it. I don't know. What do you make of that, Dave?
You can't control what's played on the radio or anything like that. I mean, you can't tell DJs not to play a song.
Right. No, you
can't. And as far as the other part, I don't think Ed was trying to stop Sam from playing the songs live, because Sam is entitled to play any song he wants.
He was talking about the show on Daryl's house on TV.
Oh, well, see, but that's different. So what Ed stopped him from was giving him the right to broadcast a Van Hagar song on TV. It doesn't mean Sam can't perform it live.
Right.
It doesn't even mean Sam can't release it on a CD.
Right.
Because, I mean, he did that on the last live album he released with The Circle. So his comment about Ed, you have to be very careful about that. Ed is just not allowing him to do a Van Hagar song on TV, basically. Broadcast, cable, internet, whatever. So that's where the rub is, which is unfortunate that Ed, or, we pretty much blame Ed for this, but whomever is so petty that they won't let Sam do songs from the biggest and best part of his career.
Right.
I mean, it's just so petty. It's just wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's how these, that's how these guys are. And really, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, because Ed would get a piece of that too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are you so freaking bitter that you won't let him sing a song with Daryl Hall? I mean, you approached Daryl Hall to join the band, for crying out loud. I mean, really?
Crazy.
Are you that angry you didn't accept the gig? I mean, come on.
That is
really?
Crazy. That is crazy, but what can I say? Eddie's a wild man. We are on to letter number 6, and that is from James, and he says, I pronounced his name wrong last time, so I'm going to do it right this time. Pacheco. James Pacheco. Okay, James. He says, hey, Daves, do you ever think Van Halen would take the Beatles route and stop touring, but keep making albums? By the way, What If needs to be a regular segment on the podcast. So that was his little nudge to you, Dave.
Everyone's a comedian.
But it's true. But what do you think, Dave? Do you think Van Halen would ever do something like that? My theory, no, right? I don't think so. I don't see that.
No, because the market is completely different now. There's no money in albums.
Right.
The real money is in touring.
Right.
Especially if you are a
legacy band.
Old school rock legacy band.
Right.
And Van Halen would always record an album tour.
Right.
I mean, and now, I mean, they've done a tour where they didn't record anything.
Right.
They've done that.
Yeah.
So I think they'd be more likely to do the opposite.
Right.
I mean, what I can see is what Ed does now is that he just noodles in the studio all day, but doesn't even record anything or nothing releasable.
Right. Exactly.
That I could see, and that I'm sure that's what they're doing now.
Yeah, probably.
All the live long day. But just recording albums and not touring, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting theory, James. That's for sure. I don't know. I could maybe see Ed doing that on his own. Not as Van Halen the band, but just sort of as a solo artist. In fact, I'm surprised he hasn't done it already. Roth loves the crowd too much. He loves the touring too much. But Ed definitely, I'm so surprised that he doesn't have a catalog of material, because he's always talking about how much material he has and does nothing with it.
It's not where his heart is.
Yeah, but
that's not what he's into these
Great,
days.
but you know what? I'm sick and tired of every Van Halen album as a solo album line, because that doesn't cut it with me. Because that's BS. I think he is trapped inside his Guitar Hero image, and he doesn't know what to do. As far as the what ifs, I think that Dave should start his what if corner. That we should just have people asking him what ifs, and then we can have him getting angry every single time and tell him to go fuck himself every week. So that might be fun.
Wow, I can't wait for the new segment of the podcast.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
That'll be debuting next month for your birthday. Yeah.